The sound of my suitcase crashing down the wooden stairs was louder than the words that followed, but not harsher. "You're not needed here anymore," my daughter sneered, her voice sharp enough to cut through me like glass. I gripped the banister with trembling hands, my knees weak, not because of my age alone, but because I couldn't comprehend how easily she dismissed me. That house had once been mine. Those walls had held me when I rocked her to sleep, when I fed her during nights she had colic, when I stayed awake for fevers, prayers on my lips. And now, here she was, standing at the top of the staircase, one hand on her hip, her phone glowing in the other, rolling her eyes at me like I was just an inconvenience, like a broken chair ready for the curb. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments, from where are you watching this video? "Go on," she said, as if she were shooing away a stray cat. "Mom, you can't just expect to stay here forever. We have our own life now. I'm tired of babysitting you." Babysitting. That word cut deep. My chest ached with the weight of it. I wasn't asking her for anything grand. I cooked, I cleaned, I folded laundry. I kept quiet when her friends came over, laughing too loudly in the living room. I even offered her my pension checks when she complained about bills, and yet, to her, I was nothing but baggage she wanted to unload. The suitcase lay at the bottom of the stairs, partly open, with my clothes spilling out like my dignity, old cardigans, a couple of dresses, the shawl I knitted for myself one winter because no one else thought to. Seeing them sprawled on the floor felt like seeing pieces of me being rejected. I swallowed hard, my throat dry, my body stiff, as if every bone resisted moving because leaving meant surrendering. Her husband peeked out from the kitchen, not saying a word. He gave me a shrug, the kind that said, "It's her house, not mine to argue, coward." I had watched him lose job after job, had lent him money I never got back, had helped him when he pretended to be too sick to go to work, but somehow strong enough to sit in front of the television all day. Now he looked at me as though I were the problem. My granddaughter came bouncing down the hallway holding a tablet. She looked at me with innocent eyes, then at the mess of clothes on the floor, and giggled. "Grandma's moving out?" she asked, like it was a game. My daughter ruffled her hair and said, "Yes, baby, Grandma doesn't belong here anymore." I could feel my lips quiver, but no sound came. To hear a child, my own blood, laugh at my exile, it was the cruelest salt in the wound. I bent down slowly, my joints stiff, and started picking up my clothes. My daughter leaned on the railing above me, sighing dramatically. "Mom, don't drag this out. You always make things bigger than they are. We're doing you a favor. Maybe you'll finally learn to be independent instead of leeching." That word again, leech. She had used it before in fights, but this time it echoed in my skull. I had carried her, clothed her, worked 3 jobs to keep food on the table when her father walked out. And now she had the audacity to call me a leech. I zipped the suitcase with shaking fingers. Every zip felt like sealing away pieces of my life. My back hurt as I pulled the handle, but I didn't show it. I refused to let her see me collapse in front of her. She might have thought she won, but something inside me, a tiny ember, refused to go out. At the doorway, I turned back one last time, waiting, hoping for a flicker of regret in her eyes. But she was already on her phone again, scrolling, smirking as if I had been erased. "Don't forget to lock the door on your way out," she said flatly. My granddaughter's laughter rang behind her, high-pitched, cruel, without knowing. I stepped into the cold night air with my suitcase dragging behind me, my body aching, my breath visible in the darkness. The street was quiet, except for the faint barking of a dog far away. I stood there for a long moment, staring at the closed door, my heart sinking. For the first time, I was not just a mother being cast out. I was a woman left to survive on her own after a lifetime of giving everything. What they didn't know, what my daughter had forgotten, was that this wasn't the first time I'd been left with nothing. Life had thrown me down before, but I had clawed my way back every time. And this time, the betrayal didn't just break me, it woke something in me. As I walked down the dimly lit street, suitcase bumping against the uneven sidewalk, I whispered to myself, "She'll learn." The night carried my words away, but I knew deep down she would. The first night after being thrown out, I slept on a bench at the edge of the park, clutching my suitcase like it was the only proof that I still existed. The air was sharp, cutting through my thin coat. Every sound, rustling leaves, the distant rumble of a car jolted me awake. But even more piercing than the cold was the silence from the house I once called home. My phone sat heavy in my pocket, but no one called, no one checked in. My daughter hadn't even sent a message to see if I was safe. By morning, my back screamed with pain, but I forced myself to move. I walked to a small diner where I used to take my granddaughter for pancakes. I sat at the counter, ordered the cheapest coffee on the menu, and watched families laughing at their tables. Every laugh was a reminder of what had been ripped away from me. But I also noticed something else: the tired eyes of the waitress, the cook limping slightly as he carried plates. They were struggling too, but they kept going. Something inside me tightened, not with despair, but with a stubborn spark. If they could carry their weight, then so could I. Meanwhile, my daughter's perfect little household was far from stable. I didn't know it that morning, but I would soon hear whispers. Her husband had been fired again, this time for not showing up to work for weeks. They had debts piling up from the new car he insisted on, from the vacations she bragged about on social media, from private school fees they could no longer afford. They had pushed me out, thinking I was the burden. They didn't realize the quiet ways I had been keeping them afloat, paying the utility bill when the lights nearly got cut off, slipping cash into the pantry when groceries ran thin, watching their daughter so they wouldn't have to pay for after-school care. 2 days after being thrown out, I overheard neighbors in the diner talking. "That family on Maple Street," one of them whispered. "They've got the bank calling every day. House might go up for foreclosure." I stirred my coffee slowly, letting the words sink in. Maple Street. My daughter's house. My home. A strange calm washed over me. They thought they didn't need me. They thought I was unnecessary, dead weight. But their little empire was crumbling without the very person they discarded like trash. By evening of the second day, I found myself sitting outside the library, reading through job postings pinned on the corkboard. Most of them were too much for my body now, lifting, standing for hours, labor. But a small ad caught my eye. Part-time caretaker needed, flexible hours, lighthouse help. I smiled faintly, tore off the number, and tucked it into my pocket. For years, I had been dismissed as useless. Now, even if I was old, someone still needed what I had to give. That thought carried me through the night. The irony came the very next morning. Rain poured hard, soaking the streets, when I saw a familiar car pull up to the curb near where I sat with my suitcase under a small awning. My daughter stepped out, her umbrella snapping against the wind, her face pale and frantic. She looked around until her eyes landed on me. For a moment she hesitated, pride warring with desperation, but then she rushed toward me. "Mom," she said, her voice sharp but trembling underneath. You have to come back. Please. We need you." I stared at her, the rain dripping off my hood, my hands clutching the suitcase tighter. Those words, "we need," you were bitter on her tongue. Just 2 nights ago, I was not needed anymore. Now, with bills unpaid, creditors calling, and her husband useless as ever, she suddenly remembered the value of the woman she had cast out. I didn't answer right away. I let the silence sit heavy between us, let her squirm under the weight of it. She shifted uncomfortably, biting her lip, looking down at her wet shoes. "Please," she whispered this time, softer. "I don't know what to do. I can't manage. The house, the bills, everything's falling apart. I need you." And in that moment, as the rain poured harder, I realized something. For the first time in her life, my daughter was learning what it felt like to be powerless, to beg, to need someone she thought she could live without. I let her words hang in the air, the sound of the rain filling the silence between us. My daughter's voice was unrecognizable to me, now strained, desperate, almost childlike. the same woman who just 2 nights ago had stood on the staircase, her hand on her hip, sneering, "You're not needed here anymore." The same woman who threw my suitcase down those steps as if it were nothing but trash. Now she stood shivering in front of me, begging. I tilted my head slightly and said, "Strange, isn't it? How quickly things change. One moment, I'm nothing. The next, I'm suddenly your everything." Her face twisted with shame, but pride still clung to her like a second skin. "I didn't mean it like that," she stammered. "I was angry. I shouldn't have. Please, Mom, just come back. I'll make room. I'll fix it." I laughed a sound that startled even me. "Make room? You already made it clear there was no room for me. You wanted a house without me, a life without me. Now you have it." Her eyes welled up, tears mixing with raindrops. "I can't do this without you. We're drowning. The bills, the calls, the school. I need you to take care of things, just like before." And there it was. The truth, plain and raw. She hadn't come because she missed me, or because she suddenly realized my worth. She came because she wanted me to fix her chaos, to pick up the pieces of her broken choices the way I always had. I had been her invisible shield all these years, and when she threw me away, she didn't realize how fragile her world was without me. I leaned forward, my voice low and steady. "Do you remember when I begged you for kindness the night you shoved me out with my suitcase? Do you remember what you said?" Her lips trembled, but she stayed quiet. I didn't wait for her answer. "You said, 'You're not needed here anymore.' And you meant it. You wanted me gone, so I left. Now, you'll learn what not needed feels like." Her eyes widened, panic replacing shame. "Mom, please don't do this. Please, I'll change. I'll do better. Just come back." I stood, lifting my old suitcase by its worn handle. The rain had slowed to a drizzle, but my resolve had never been clearer. "No," I said simply. "This time, you'll survive without me, just like you wanted." She reached for my arm, but I pulled away. I walked past her toward the street, each step heavy but firm. Behind me, I could hear her sobbing, calling my name. For the first time, she was the one left standing in the cold, abandoned in her own storm. The days that followed were quiet. I took the caretaker job, working in a small house for a kind elderly couple who treated me with more respect in a week than my daughter had in years. I had my own little room, warm meals, and most importantly, peace. Meanwhile, word spread quickly in the neighborhood. My daughter's car was repossessed, her credit cards frozen, the private school expelling her daughter for unpaid fees. Neighbors whispered about foreclosure notices taped to her door. And every time I walked past Maple Street on my way to the bus stop, I saw her standing there, thinner, paler, looking like a shadow of the proud woman who had once tossed me aside. She would glance at me, eyes pleading, but I never slowed down. I didn't need to shout or scream or throw her words back at her. My silence was enough. The ultimate twist wasn't in what I did, it was in what I didn't do. I had been her lifeline, her hidden safety net. When she cut me out, she cut that net too, and when she finally fell, there was nothing to catch her. So, in the end, her words came true. I wasn't needed anymore, but it wasn't me who crumbled because of it. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.